Next, I'm going to do a smoky eye look on Jessica. Now, I've started with a completely clean face here, and I'm going to go straight into the eyes. The reason I do this is because often when you're working with dark colours, smoky colours, they tend to drop down onto the cheek. Well, I'm going to start by using a cream to powder eyeshadow base, which is in a khaki colour. The reason I'm going to do that is just to demonstrate really that smoky eyes can be done in any colour. They don't need to be just classically black or grey. You can have a smokiness with aubergines and khakis, even navy blues, and it's quite a nice modern way of doing it. I'm using a quite flat brush, and I've got the eye mousse on the back of my hand. I always try out colours on the back of your hand first. You probably see makeup artists always do it, and we do it for a reason. It just means that you can gauge what kind of colour you've got, how much product you've got on the brush, and really it's a great way of sort of preparing. Now when you do a smoky eye, it's about having a haze of colour all around the eye. So I'm going to come up into the socket. You can just open your eye slit and then look straight ahead and just make sure that the colour is coming just above the socket line all the way around and then fading to nothing. And just keep checking that when you're looking in the mirror, when you're doing your makeup. Make sure that you have got, it is coming just slightly above that line there. And if you need to do any blending, again, if you go too high, for example, you don't want to come right up to the brow bone there, and if you feel that you do, just use a cotton bud. Okay, I'm going to use a really good dark grey, a graphite-y sort of grey, which is a classic smoky eye colour now. And I'm just going to start to build that up and really create that lovely smoky look around the eyelid. I'm just going to wet the brush very slightly, just dampen my brush, just because I want to get the maximum amount of product on there. So I'm just bringing in the smokiness close to the lashes. The thing about smoky eyes is you want the really intense dark colours to be very close to the lashes, and then they sort of fade away to nothing up towards the brow bone to give that lovely, it's almost like a cloud of colour around the eye. So I'm keeping most of the depth either close to the lashes here or working towards the outer edges of the eye and into the socket. Okay, so I'm starting to build up the smoky eye. The next thing I'm going to do is use a black pencil. And I'm going to use this very close to the lashes. If you can just close your eyes for me. And I'm going to be quite, you don't have to worry about how neatly you do this because we're going to be blending it in anyway. So I'm putting quite a bit close to the lashes. I'm sort of bringing up a little bit higher. And I'm also going to be using it underneath. And again, don't worry about it being perfect at this stage. I'm going to almost dot it along because I'm going to be blending this in to make it smoky. You know. Now I'm going to blend it in using a little bit more of this, the green that I started with, just to get a haze coming around there. So I'm just smoothing in the colour. Close your eyes for me. I'm blending in that black up there. See? And don't be frightened to come down a little bit further than you would normally. Because when you're doing a smoky eye, it's nice to have that sort of extra bit of smoke underneath. Okay, so that's sort of the messy bit of the smoky eye over with. Anything that's dropped down now I can clean away and put the base on, so the base is going to look really fresh. So I've just gone ahead and done Jessica's base exactly the same as I did before, and I'm just powdering before we carry on. I'm just going to put a little bit extra powder on because I'm going for a slightly demi-matte, sort of velvety look. Okay, so now I'm going to use some eyelash curlers as before, just because they give such great clout to the lashes. And next is mascara. Again, applying straight from the roots, zigzagging upwards, and coating every lash here. As you can see, I've gone for a really impactful, big lash look, which is very in keeping with the smoky eye. Okay, to finish off, I'm going to use the highlighter. And this is just great. We've got that real round, very wide-eyed look going on. So I'm just going to put a little bit of highlighter just underneath the brow bone here, and then just blend the colour into it. And again, it just keeps the eye very wide open. It's nice to use a little bit of highlighter just in the corners as well to keep that real big eye look going on. So before I finish, I'm just going to check that everything's well blended in, there are no harsh edges. Look up for me. Just go around with a brush, making sure that it's the right shape. Close again. And both eyes are even. Now for the brows with this look, I tend to think the more natural you leave your brows, the better. It just looks more modern. If you just start sort of really penciling in the eyebrows, it takes the intensity away from the smoky eye, and you really want people to be focusing right in on your eyes. So unless you have particularly sparse eyebrows and you really need to pencil them in, I would avoid doing very much at all to the brows. Okay, so once you've finished your smoky eyes, we're going to move on to the lips. And the last thing you'd want to do is to add a very strong red or burgundy lip at this point. It would completely take the attention away from the eyes, firstly, and also it just wouldn't look very modern, and I want this look to be very sort of up-to-date and very modern. So I'm going to opt for a nude lip. Now, when it comes to nude lips, people often ask me, what's the best nude lipstick on the market? And the answer to that is that it's different for every person. One person's nude is another person's orange, and it's all to do with the base colour of your skin. A great makeup artist tip is to use concealer on the lips, just a little bit, because it'll be the right colour, whichever, if you're making up somebody with fair skin, it'll be the same colour as their skin. If you're making up somebody with darker skin, you'll be using a darker concealer. So literally, start with the lips like that. I used some lip balm earlier on, so they are prepped. And then take whichever concealer it is that you've been using. Take a little bit off onto your fingertip. Take most of it off on the back of your hand. And then you just pat over the lips. It's hardly anything. I mean, less really is more with this tip. I'm going to use a nude lip colour, which is a sheer nude from the Jonathan Saunders collection. And I'm just going to apply that with a brush all over the lips. This is nice because also it's not too glossy, so again I'm not detracting from the way the eyes look with a very overly glossy mouth. I think this now looks like a very modern look, which is totally in keeping with the Jonathan Saunders collection and with 17's ethos of really taking those catwalk trends and making them so that every girl can wear them. Okay, to finish off this look, rather than go for a really rosy blusher which will ruin the whole effect, I think I'm going to keep a little bit of paleness in the skin. I'm actually going to use a very pale bronzer, which is great for Jessica's pale skin. And it's more of a sort of peachy tone bronzer. And I'm going to use it a little bit more in a kind of sculpting way. So I'm just sort of coming in onto the bones there and just giving a little bit of soft definition without having it look like anything too overpowering. And I think that looks great. That's the smoky look.